Let's begin this evening with a conversation about racial injustice that continues to plague our nation. You know, it's hard to say how many George Floyds there have been whose deaths never made it onto the national spotlight. What his did, and the cameras we carry in this information age, are enabling an American conversation like none we've had before. This conversation about how many black men are dying like George Floyd, about how scared parents are when they look into their little boy's eyes. I remember all the conversations my parents had with my younger brother and wondered how they knew exactly what to tell him about all the unwritten rules designed just for him, not the people who don't look like him. Rules on how to try and not die like George Floyd died or how Ahmaud Arbery died. But as important as it is to freeze frame and dissect those videos and to look at the bigger picture they paint, they mean something different to George Floyd's family. Two of George Floyd's cousins say they're grateful that bystanders were there. And as much as those images hurt to watch, they also mean his death is now in the sunlight. They are the proof, helping to bring swift action.
I can only be grateful that there were people there who were advocating for him, and even more so grateful for the person who was there with the camera to capture it, because so many times there aren't any witnesses around.
I'm happy to hear that they've been fired, but it's not enough.
It can be hard to listen to that, to family members saying they're thankful that there were cameras to make sure their loved one's death was taken seriously. Without those smartphones, would we know about George Floyd? Or would his death have simply blended in with all the other unexplained incidents? It's hard to really know the answer to that what if, but it's probably easy to remember where you were the first time you saw the video and heard that man asking for the right to breathe. I had to go back and watch it a few more times because I just knew this couldn't be happening again. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump provided these pictures of George Floyd. They are, of course, so much easier to look at than that disturbing video.
I mean, it was 8 minutes. It's in many ways worse than Eric Garner because they got their knee on his neck and he is begging, pleading, not 1 minute, not 2 minutes, not 3 minutes, but 8 minutes begging them to let him breathe. I think the officer should be charged with murder. It's clear that he was begged by the public bystanders to take his knee off of George's neck. And those other officers should also be charged as accomplice to a murder.
Across the nation, the outrage is palpable, but the epicenter is, of course, Minneapolis. The mayor of Minneapolis announced efforts to restore peace and security in the city following 2 days of protest from people who say they were already living without peace and security. As CBS's Jeff Pagas shows us, the fires are still burning.
As fires burned in Minneapolis Thursday, the mayor called for peace while acknowledging the reasons behind the unrest.
What we've seen over the last 2 days is the result of so much built-up anger and sadness.
The violence was sparked by Monday's death of George Floyd, who could be seen on video with a police officer's knee on his neck for several minutes while he struggled to breathe.
We feel as if there was a knee on all of our collective necks. A knee that says black life does not matter.
Most protesters were peaceful, but some clashed with police. Looters broke into nearby businesses and some set buildings on fire. The city's fire department says it responded to around 30 fires overnight. There are several structures that have been destroyed, not just this one that you see behind me. There are several in this area, and in fact, what we're told is that this was low-income housing that was being built. I don't know if the people who did this knew that, but that is the result of what happened overnight here. Among those demanding justice in Minneapolis Thursday, the Reverend Al Sharpton. Sharpton was joined by the family of Eric Garner, who died after a New York City police officer put him in a chokehold while arresting him in 2014.
This is just opening up an old wound, pouring salt into it.
We're going to make sure that this prosecution goes down.
The mayor has asked the governor for help and authorized a unified command structure to bring in additional resources to stop the violence. Jeff Pegues, CBS News, Minneapolis.
After Jeff filed that report, Minnesota's governor activated the National Guard in an effort to keep the peace. He signed an executive order that said peaceful demonstrations must be allowed, but rioting and looting must not. The FBI has announced its investigation will look into, quote, willful violations of federal human rights. So clearly this case is not over. Neither is the nationwide talk that it contributes to. I want to invite you to speak about what you've seen, noticed, lived through. I started this conversation on my Facebook page last night, and I'd love to continue it today. Head on over to Facebook. Search for my page under Marlisa Goldsmith TV. There you'll find a post regarding this conversation, and I'd love for you to chime in. I can't wait to see your comments. Until then, meteorologist Sarah Fortner is here with your weather. She's joining us from home tonight, practicing social distancing, of course.
Hey Marlisa, so thankful for you starting that conversation here on 6:30 Central. That's what this half hour is designed to do, and I just wish I could hug you because I love you so much. Let's go now to scattered showers and thunderstorms across the state right now with rain coming and going, and that'll be the story for tonight. Just scattered showers and thunderstorms. We see some heavier rain near Prairie County moving towards the north and east. Central Arkansas doing okay right now. Here's your forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Marlisa,
Sarah, I'm right there with you. We all are with you. It's a hard conversation to have, but it's one that we will no doubt have. I'll call you after the show. New information just into the THV 11 newsroom on that officer-involved shooting in North Little Rock today. Police say 4 officers were in the Rose City substation when they heard gunshots this afternoon. When they went outside, they say a man was shooting a handgun in a nearby parking lot on East Broadway Street. Police say the shooter tried to run off by jumping into a stranger's car and pointing his gun at officers. That's when one of them shot the man. He's in the hospital tonight. None of the 4 officers involved were hurt, but they're all on routine leave during this investigation.
Today, we've had an additional 261 cases in Arkansas, which represents the largest number of community cases in one 24-hour period.
A difficult briefing today in the COVID-19 pandemic. We're continuing to see an increase in the number of people testing positive. The governor pointed out that the 261 new cases are a record for community cases. There have been worse days, which included cases from the outbreaks in the Cummins Unit and Forest City Correctional Institute. 5 more have died in Arkansas. Hospitalizations are down by 4, and 4,583 people are now listed as recovered. One thing Dr. Smith pointed out about all these new cases, they are now getting more positive results in asymptomatic people. There are several possibilities for why that would happen, including the increased rate of testing.
My heart feels like it's in my stomach. I feel like I'm very heartbroken.
It was the heart-wrenching testimony seen around the country. The Arkansas nurse who went to NYC to help COVID-19 patients and back home, and sharing her experience with us, why she says she would do it all over again. We'll check back in with Sarah Fortner shortly to get a look at the forecast. It's looking like it's sunny outside. We all could use it. Several weeks ago, we shared with you the story of an Arkansas nurse who traveled to New York City, the country's coronavirus hotspot, to help an overwhelmed hospital. This video she showed and recorded of herself crying in the hospital bathroom on a break was viewed 91,000 times on our YouTube page. An honest testimony of life inside the ICU with COVID patients. Well, today she's back home, and she told THV 11's Laura Monteverde she would do it all again.
My heart feels like it's in my stomach. I feel like I'm very heartbroken.
was the heart-wrenching testimony shared around the country.
In that moment when I took that video, that was for me to keep forever and to remember that night that that was one of the hardest nights that I had.
We first introduced you to Erin Courtway in early April. The Fayetteville nurse and mom of two left her life in Arkansas to care for COVID-19 patients in the ICU of one of New York City's busiest hospitals.
Some of the weeks were just grueling and every day felt so long. It was eye-opening, but I also feel like I grew so much.
6 weeks later, Courtway is back in Arkansas. Out of an abundance of caution, she's self-quarantining, anxiously awaiting to reunite with her two boys.
We FaceTime every day still and just have decided that when they come to my home that we are going to hug each other and kiss each other.
As for her experience in New York, Courtway says she's still processing things and focusing on her mental health.
I haven't really reflected on things a lot because I think that there's just too much at one time. I'm trying to process things and as I'm ready. It felt like a very dark time. I hate to say that, but it did. But I felt like there was always moments that I had glimmers of light that helped me get through.
Moments like meeting fellow nurses who she says will become lifelong friends.
There were so many other people beside me, and they were really brave and they didn't really complain or anything. And so when I had those moments that I wanted to be scared or I wanted to complain or be negative, I was just surrounded by all these people who were so brave. And it's like we pushed each other.
At the end of the day, Courtway says she's grateful for the experience and would do it again if given the chance.
I went with not a feeling, but a sense of a calling. I felt like I'm called to go. I'm feeling like God's telling me to go. I'm going to do this. I feel like I was a part of history.
Laura Monteverdi, THV 11 News.
Good news. Courtney tested negative for COVID-19 when she first got back to Arkansas last weekend. And as a precaution, she plans to take another test before she's reunited with her kids.
Okay, I'm going to try to hold it together this time, Marlisa, but just heartbreaking, the hate that still goes on. And there are conversations that you and I have had late at night after the news, prior to COVID. And it's just so funny. Michael in my ear, one of our directors, asks me if I'm good. And I just love you both so much. And I just hope this conversation continues even after our show tonight. So let's get to weather. I should stick to weather before I just start crying again. 76 degrees outside right now. West wind at 8 miles per hour. The dew point is at 63, and 24 hours from now, I'm telling you, that's going to be different. It's going to feel less humid outside. Rainfall over the last 12 hours really showing you where the areas that did see the rain today, and some of us didn't see much at all. Up towards Batesville got some rain. Arkadelphia got several rounds of some good rain, and then down towards Texarkana, some of the estimates down there over 2 inches. Now granted, they're estimates, but still, pockets of rain today continue into tonight. Some models even calling for a little thunderstorm rolling through central Arkansas here in the next few hours. But as you can see here, Pulaski and Saline County, for the most part, rain-free. Down towards Clark County, seeing a thunderstorm roll there right along the county line, crossing over 30 any moment now. And then up towards north central part of the state, seeing some thunderstorm, or some, I should say rain, heavy rain, not tracking any lightning with these diving towards the south. Tomorrow, temperatures in the low 80s. Things are going to be feeling different. The sun's going to come back out. We're going to have a north wind, and that cuts off the humidity. Let's talk quickly about the storms coming tonight. See that little thunderstorm popping up around 10 p.m.? Nathan's going to be covering that tonight for you. And, we could see just one little thunderstorm pop up somewhere in central Arkansas just around 10 o'clock when the evening news starts. Early tomorrow morning, scattered showers. And then as we go into Friday, bye-bye rain, hello sunshine. Looking forward to some better conditions to kick off your weekend. Now, warm weather trending for the 6 to 10 day outlook. I'm talking temperatures above normal. Right now we're normally in the mid 80s, and you see some drier conditions settling into the southern plains into the Mississippi Valley there as well for that 6 to 10 day outlook. Now, earlier I was talking about the first 90-degree day. On average, we hit the first 90-degree day of the year around May 17th. So as of right now, we're trending
behind normal with the warm weather. Clouds and sun tomorrow, isolated storm possible in the southeast part of the state. Temperatures in the low 80s, more low 80s for Saturday and Sunday, and then the 90s kicking into high gear, upper 80s on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. The heat is on.
Does your credit score go down if you file for unemployment? That's a question a lot of people have been asking, worried about their ability to get loans if they need emergency help. The Verify team found answers.
There's all sorts of confusing information out there about this pandemic, but the Verify team is here to bring your questions to the vetted experts to get the truth. A viewer asked us to verify, will unemployment from COVID-19 impact your credit score? Our sources here are Experian, one of the 3 major credit bureaus, and Credit Karma. They both say no. Losing your job by itself is not going to ding your credit score.
Being unemployed does not impact your credit scores directly. Whether you are currently employed or not is not part of a credit report.
You see, your credit report doesn't show if you've applied for unemployment, nor does it show your employment history. All it shows is who your employer was when you applied for new credit.
If you get a car loan, you might have that car loan for now on average anywhere from 5 to 7 years. If you change jobs during that time and that's the only new credit you apply for, we wouldn't have that new employer reported to us.
But here's the catch. Losing your job can impact you indirectly if you miss a payment on your credit card, a loan, or take on more debt, then yeah, your credit score can take a hit. With your Verify, this is Evan Kozlov.
Now, if that's got you wondering about your credit score and how to maintain or even improve it, we've also got some verified advice from you. These tips are from financial writer Beverly O'Shea with NerdWallet. First, your score depends heavily on getting the bills paid on time. Consider using AutoPay to help keep track of them. Second, pay down credit card balances. The end goal is to have every card paid in full every month. That way, you never have to pay interest charges. And third, check your credit report for errors. Mistakes do happen, folks, and you can file disputes with the credit bureaus to have the mistakes corrected. If you have something you want verified, you can always email us, verify@thv11.com, or reach out on social media. A quote tonight from author, poet, and newly minted Harvard PhD, Clint Smith. He says, "I want to live in a world where my son will not be presumed guilty the moment he is born, where a toy in his hand isn't mistaken for anything other than a toy." Something to think about tonight as we close out 6:30 Central. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Don't forget to join in on the conversation on my Facebook page at Marlisa Goldsmith TV. Craig O'Neill will be in studio tonight for the THV 11 News at 10, and I'll be anchoring from home. I hope to see you then. Have a great night.